All right, good morning, everybody. My name is Dalia Saad, and I'm the VP of Sales at NIC Partners. Thank you for joining us today and taking the time out of your busy schedule during these changing times. I'd like to start by mentioning that this session will be recorded, and the link to the recording will be emailed to all attendees within the next couple of days. So please feel free to share it with others in your organization that you feel may benefit from watching it. As you know, we're all working from home, as I'm sure some of you are as well. So please excuse any background noise or interruptions you may hear. Can't really do much about it, so I do apologize in advance for that. At the end of the session, we'll have time for questions, and in your WebEx events screen on the right-hand side, there's a Q&A section. So please feel free to put your questions in there and direct them to me, and we'll make sure that the right presenter answers your question. So you might already know a little bit about NIC Partners, but just in case you don't, we're a Southern California-based technology integrator with 20 years of experience. We're a Cisco certified partner, and we're also master specialized in collaboration. Some of our core competencies are network and physical security, network infrastructure, collaboration, and we do all of our own structured cabling in-house. We've helped more than 50 school districts with their technology needs, and 3/4 of our client base are K-12 and higher ed. So I'd like to introduce you to our presenters and our agenda. First, we'll start with John Cox, who is a Meraki product specialist. He'll take us through Meraki Cloud Managed Smart Video Cameras and walk us through some of their features and benefits. Next will be Mike DeCecco, who's Vice President of Sales and Marketing for Social Sentinel. Social Sentinel is an AI-based powered language engine that helps keep students safe. And last but not least is Michelle Johnson, who's the Southwest Regional Sales Manager for SALTO Systems, which is an electronic access control. So without further ado, I will pass this on to John to take it away from here.
Thank you, Dalia, and good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining. Hope everybody's holding up through the tough times that we're having right now. And as Dalia mentioned, I'm working remotely as well, so please apologize. I apologize in advance for any noise, but hopefully I've found a quiet time and space here in my home office. Anyway, I've been with Cisco Meraki. I'm a solution sales professional and specialist. I've been with the company a little over 2 years. I came over from HPE, and I've been deploying Cisco Meraki to our Southern California public sector customers, including K through 12, as well as higher education. And I'm based in San Diego, and look forward to working with some of you on this call today. So let's talk about Meraki for those of you who aren't familiar with it, and really about how we're making schools safer. And keep in mind, when we talk about Meraki, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, it is a division within Cisco. It's Cisco's fastest growing division, and it's all around simplicity. We want customers to be able to deploy networks really easily. So everything is graphical user interface based through what we call the Meraki dashboard. You'll probably hear me talk about that during this presentation several times. And it's a really easy way for you to manage high capacity, complex networks, but in a very simple manner to deploy, configure, monitor. And I've worked with several of the K through 12 and higher education customers here deploying Meraki full stack. We are not just a security, we don't just have a security portfolio, we've got a full suite of network solutions from switches to access points to endpoint management. But what we're going to be focusing here today is really around schools, how we're keeping students safe, and we're going to be focusing on the physical security, but I just want to keep in mind we can go through deeper discussions around our endpoint security, which is really all about securing devices that students may have while they're on campus and while they're off campus, being able to also prevent malicious malware getting into your infrastructure through our firewalls. And then finally, we've got security cameras, which will be the focus of the demo, which I'm going to give you in a little bit. And really what that is it's a really easy deployable surveillance solution that allows you to do a lot of analytics and has a lot of intelligence built into the camera, which you'll see as I run through the demo. So when it comes to student safety, I really want to talk about 6 areas that what I'm seeing and what Cisco Meraki is seeing around what we really are trying to accomplish. And obviously, for intruders, trespassers, we want to be able to quickly find that and do it proactively rather than reactively. We want to make sure students are safe and where they should be. So we've got things in our solution like people counting. For example, I've got a K-12 customer here in Southern California who basically is doing people counting in their cafeteria. And they want to know, anytime that the number of people in the cafeteria exceeds a certain threshold, they want to get an alert and have somebody go look at what's going on in that feed, because there could be something going on there where they need to send somebody, maybe it's an incident, a fight, and they need to send somebody. But we can proactively give alerts based on the number of people or students in a given area within a field of view. It's a really good use case that we're seeing a lot here in Southern California and around the world. Being able to locate missing items like an iPad, a laptop, these kinds of things can be integrated into our platform with our endpoint management solution. And we need to be able to give access to, like cameras, for example, to people who need to be able to see the footage. I've got several K-12 districts that have really good relationships with their local law enforcement, like the Sheriff's Department, and they actually give access to the Meraki cameras to those third-party first responders, so that if there is an incident, they can actually look at the feeds while they're en route to the school. So it's really kind of nice to make it really easy for you to get access to your cameras and surveillance system outside of your IT or core user group. We need to keep that footage very safe and secure, which we've done. All of our video feeds are watermarked and have a running timestamp, so it keeps the chain of custody and is permissible in a court of law. And we really have set up a lot of alerts and intelligence in the cameras that allow you to do things like motion search. We've got heat maps, and I'll show you some of that in just a little bit. Let me give you an example of a K-12 that is really one of our flagship customers when it comes to Meraki full stack. When I say full stack, that means they've got the cameras, they've got the endpoint security, they've got our firewalls, and as you just can see here, they're managing 300 student iPads, also protecting their network from malware and threats with our MX or our firewall line, and then they've also got, obviously, video cameras set up. And what's really nice about the Meraki solution is the dashboard is accessible by anybody with an internet connection in a browser. You don't need any special software, you don't need plugins, you don't need a VPN in order to look at video feeds or monitor your network or configure the network for that matter. So make it very easy for you to go to one place and one easy dashboard to do all these things. So this is just an example of one of our flagship customers that's recently fully deployed on Meraki with over 19,000 students, 2,000 teachers and staff with 19 school sites. I'm not going to go into the configuration as we get to a little bit more technical, but yes, they do run full stack of Meraki. And then one of the nice things about Meraki is we are cloud-based with a management-based solution. So that means a lot of the headaches that you would have to have in your infrastructure in order to run your network are no longer necessary. We hold those servers and those components in our data centers in our cloud. So the only thing that you really need is that physical piece of endpoint hardware, whether that's an access point, a firewall, or this example, a security camera. No longer do you need things like controllers, NVR or network video recorders. That is all taken out and put it into our cloud, which really makes it easy for you to not only manage, but really easy for you to deploy Meraki solution. We have a bunch of different compliances in our data centers. They're very secure. What's really nice about the Meraki solution is that as long as you are a paying subscribed customer, then you will get access to any firmware updates or any features that we include in future versions of the dashboard. In fact, I've got customers that are using 8-year-old APs and will come out with some new feature or functionality within the dashboard, and they will be able to take advantage of it. That's really attractive to a lot of customers. And these updates, you don't have to worry about. We will install them. We'll let you install them. either automatically or you can set up a schedule when the network isn't congested. All that's done through the dashboard. And it's at your discretion on how you want to deploy updates. But we really make it easy for our customers. Once they're a Meraki customer, we don't nickel and dime you as we come out with new features and new functionality. As long as the hardware that you own can support it, the Meraki hardware that you own can support it, then we will give you that feature or function. So let's talk a little bit about our security cameras, because I want to jump into a demo in just a couple minutes. But basically, I do want to kind of set the stage on the paradigm shift of Meraki when it comes to a physical security or surveillance solution rather than your traditional analog or non-internet protocol-based solutions. All of our video feeds are stored on camera. We don't have a centralized server, so each camera can hold up to 512 gigabytes of storage, and we do have the capability to do like motion-based retention, which will help you save on space. And if you do have the if you have the requirement to keep more than 512 gigabytes of data, we can actually then also archive that to our cloud at an additional cost. So one question you might be thinking is, well, 512 gigabytes, how much video do I get out of that? It really depends on the settings of the camera. You can tweak the frame rate, the bit rate, you can tweak the resolution. All these will impact how much video will be able to be held on each camera. Typically, in a normal environment with the recommended settings, you're going to get about 21 to 30 days, about a month of footage with 512 gigabytes. And after that, if you do need to archive that footage, you can do it yourself. If you want to offload that onto some sort of network drive or thumb drive or CD-ROM, whatever it is, or you can opt for our cloud archiving solution, which we allow up to 6 months of video storage in our cloud solution. And really what people are doing to our security cameras, it's really not about being reactive. It's like not just, hey, an incident happened, let's go back and look at the footage. Customers are setting up alerts on areas that are very of high value that shouldn't be, buildings that shouldn't be entered at certain times of the night, perhaps. They'll set up an alert on their door to their computer rooms and say, hey, if somebody opens this door or if there's movement in this field of view, I want to get an alert between the hours of 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. Because there shouldn't be anybody in those rooms. Or maybe it's just a janitor. So these are all things you can do in the dashboard. There's no coding, all graphical user interface, point and click based. So what about some of the intelligence? Each one of our cameras is equipped with a Qualcomm Snapdragon processor, which really means we can do a lot of analytics right on the camera as you're looking at the footage. What's really nice about this is we can set up things like motion and search alerts, not only for an entire field of view, but maybe for just a section of that view. We can also set up privacy windows. This is a requirement if you need to block out certain areas within a field of view. Maybe it's a bathroom door, maybe it's a sensitive computer screen. You can set up areas which no video will be recorded within that field of view. We do have heat maps as well, which allows you to see where people are moving throughout the field of view, where your high traffic areas. And then we have the ability to do people detection. And this is not facial recognition, but we're able to identify a person versus a inanimate object, such as a cart or an animal like a pet. But we do have that capability, and we just added recently to the dashboard that was available to all our customers vehicle counting as well. We do have integration with our API to third parties. If you did want to do some more advanced license plate recognition or facial recognition, and I'll talk about some of those integrations in just a second. So as far as savings, what are we saving you on? Besides, hey, John, it's easy to use. It sounds like it's really easy to get access, and I only need a browser and an internet connection. What else is beneficial on the Meraki solution? Well, typically you have a lot of network traffic and server storage needs when you deploy a traditional security camera solution. Typically, you have some sort of server that leads to some sort of NVR, network video recorder, that actually stores the footage. You're responsible for keeping that up to date with patches, making sure there's enough space on those servers, buying more storage space if necessary. And then also there's a lot of network traffic consistently being used up because the video feeds are constantly connecting to that network video recorder to save the storage. Well, with Meraki, all that's gone since we don't need a NVR, some central storage area. As I mentioned, all camera footage is stored on camera, so you don't need an NVR. You don't need a server. You don't need all that costly storage space because we're doing that for you. A lot of VMS systems, video management solutions, require plugins or special software packages to download and install in order to look at video feeds, not with Meraki. Any browser that's HTML5 compliant, which just about every browser as of today is, will be able to look at video feeds or access the dashboard. We do give the capability to offload storage yourself. You want to put it on a thumb drive or send a link out to law enforcement or an external third party, you can do so. And then we have very granular access controls. I do want to mention that because a lot of our customers only want to give certain cameras feeds to certain users, or they only want those users to be able to see live footage and not past history footage. We have a really granular access control so that only the people that really need to look at that video footage will be able to do so. Obviously, if you give them a Meraki access, they will be able to access the dashboard, but if they're just a camera user, they wouldn't be able to see anything else on your network. I think that's pretty important. Unless you're using our cloud option, none of the data travels to the Meraki, none of the video footage travels to the Meraki data centers. Only if you're using our cloud archive. So we wouldn't even know what you are recording because that footage is stored on camera, which you own in your environment. The only data that's being sent to the Meraki cloud is the metadata and configuration information so that the camera knows what it's supposed to be doing, what it's supposed to be recording, and setting up alerts and all that stuff. Once again, all of this is done within the Meraki dashboard, point and click, no scripting, no command lines in order to do all this stuff. So really, really important. Also, we save a lot on bandwidth. As I mentioned in my previous slide, that there's a lot of bandwidth overhead because we're only accessing, we don't have an NVR, we're only accessing the video when we're looking at it or when a set of people are looking at it. That saves a lot on bandwidth on your network because we're not consistently streaming to save that video to an NVR. And then I do want to mention that we do integrate with a lot of third parties that are very popular in our K-12, like SingleWire. We have a whole set of APIs that do allow for third-party integrations out of the box. We have integrations with SingleWire. A lot of you may be very familiar with the, their crisis and emergency response solution. We also have other integrations with other third parties. You'll be hearing about SALTO here in a little bit, and we do have integrations through our APIs that we can integrate with third parties such as them for access and door control as well. We've done that in the past. So what I want to do now, just for a couple minutes that I have left, I want to just quickly run a demo for you and show you the Meraki dashboard and actually get into the solution itself. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Let me know when everybody can see that.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. Great, thank you. So this is just a map of the Meraki networks that are deployed worldwide. A network can consist of one device, like one camera, or one access point, or tens of thousands of cameras and access points. We're up to 2 million networks worldwide. So that's just to give some frame of reference on how fast we're growing. When I joined Cisco Meraki about 2 years ago, this number was just over 1 million. So we're growing pretty rapidly, pretty rapid clip. So I'm going to go ahead and go into a real network. This is our Meraki San Francisco office. So this is the Meraki dashboard. I'm going to go ahead and click into our San Francisco offices. We've got offices all around the world. And this is what you would see. Now, this is a fully deployed network. This is a live network. Obviously, we're going to be focusing on the cameras here. And if I just had access to the cameras, that's all I would see for my navigation pane on the left. Obviously, I have full control, so I can see all kinds of things on the network, like what clients are connected to access points, what firewall alerts I'm getting, how my switch and switch ports are configured. But we're just going to jump into the cameras right here on the left. I'm going to go ahead and click on cameras. Now, as I mentioned, we're all working remotely, and this is a real live network. So there isn't a whole lot of footage on these cameras because there's not many people in the office, to be honest with you. But I do have some example cameras where we can look at. So I'm going to go ahead and filter based on name. You can filter based on a number of different properties, but I'm going to go ahead and pull up one of our 4th floor stairwell cameras. This is the Meraki office. Now, keep in mind, I'm streaming this from my home office network, so it might be a little slow. I've got other people in this house that are working from home as well. But anyway, you can see that this is a footage of our 4th floor stairwell. You can see these black areas for demonstration purposes. These are those privacy windows I discussed. So it may be a sensitive area like a bathroom door, a computer screen. You can block off just these black areas within this field of view in order to help with those privacy concerns. What I want to show you is motion search. Okay, right now we're looking at a live feed, April 23rd at 10:22 a.m. I click on this motion search button here on the top left, and overlay a grid onto my field of view. And what I'm going to do is what I'm going to tell the Meraki dashboard is going, hey, within this field of view, I'm going to highlight a certain area, and I want to know any time that this camera has seen movement within that area. Now, typically, in an older or legacy solution, you'd really have to sit there and hit the rewind button until something happened. But because we have our cameras have processors and can do intelligent real time, I can highlight an area and I can jump to, excuse me, again. I'm going to highlight that area, and I should be able to jump to results, clicking that button up here. And basically, what the camera is now telling me is every one of these panes is a time when somebody crossed that highlighted field that I did within that field of view. So right here, it says on 4/19 at 6:31 p.m., somebody crossed that area. I can then go into this, and you can see we do have motion recap here, which gives you a time-lapse view of when that person entered that area. If I click play video here, you can see the highlighted area on the stairwell that I highlighted, and right there is where that person crossed the motion search field, which is why it came to my results. If I want to say, nope, that wasn't the person that I was looking for, I could go to a different time when somebody crossed that field of motion search that I'd set up. Go ahead and click play video. We're going to wait for somebody to cross this area, and it looks like they're coming down here. And right there is where they're crossing the motion search area. I can pause it, I can rewind it real time here, and I could take a screen capture. We do have digital zoom on some models of our cameras. We do have optical zoom on others. And then I could, zoom in, zoom out. We do have some field of view rotations that we can do with the camera. But yes, this is just one example of how smart our cameras are, and it saves a bunch of time when trying to find out if when an incident happened. You can imagine you could put this search area if you lost your laptop, or if you could put it on a window or a door where there's maybe you got high vandalism in the past. You'd be able to see when an event happened, somebody broke the window, you could easily do a search and get that information really quickly. We also support natural language. So if I wanted to type in here and I wanted to rewind the camera, instead of hitting a rewind button, I can say, show me yesterday at 12 p.m. and hit enter. The camera will now rewind to yesterday at 12 p.m., automatically show me the footage of what was going on at 12 p.m. yesterday. Now, there's probably not a lot going on here yesterday at 12 p.m., but that's how you would do that. And it's taking a little bit longer than it usually does, but I'll have to take my word on that. There we go. My home office internet being a little slow. But now we're April 17th, 12 p.m. Okay, so let's go into one more thing, and then I'll have to turn it over. But I do want to show you the video wall, very popular. We've got a whole slew of features I wish I could show you. but just due to time constraints, I won't be able to. If you want a deeper dive, we can definitely do that. We do support video walls with up to 16 cameras per wall. So if you do have large monitors where you want multiple cameras, all of it is easily configurable. If I want to go to edit layouts here, I can change the size and the placement of these cameras. I'm not going to play too much with it here, but you get the idea. You can resize. I can add cameras down below. If I wanted to add a camera, I can just click here. Only the cameras I have access to would show up. And right now, I just by clicking, I added those two, and then I can just go ahead and save this layout when I'm ready. And it would this video wall would be like this every time I accessed it. And real quickly, I am going to show you one more thing. All of our video walls are synced together. So I'm going to pull up another video wall here, the staircase. If I did a motion search here, cancel, I'm going to go, we're in the edit layouts section. Stairwell here, I can do a motion search here. And what's really nice about this is it syncs up all the cameras together when we do a motion search. So let me do one right. Know something that's crossed. So there's not a whole lot of data. There's not many people in the office, but all these cameras are now synced up together so that it will show the same time and the same angle for each camera. With that, I want to mention a couple other things. We are running a promotion with NIC right now. It is our first year. If you buy 3 years of Meraki subscription, we'll throw in an extra year. This promotion is running from now till July 25th, 2020. And anything that you've seen here today that you're interested in Meraki, we make it very easy for our customers to trial our gear. So if you're interested in getting a demo, talk to your NICP rep, or if you're interested in getting some trial gear, you want to try out some of these cameras or access points or firewalls, we make it super easy. Just contact NICP and I'll work with them to set you up with that. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mike from Social Sentinel. One second. And hopefully Mike will be getting control.
All right, guys. Hey, this is Mike live from the bunker up here in Vermont, on the other side of the world, working out of the warehouse because I have toddlers in the house and it makes it nearly impossible to get anything done. So as John mentioned, I'm from Social Sentinel. We are an artificial intelligence company, natural language processing company that scans social media and district-owned and sanctioned communications channels for threats against the school, harm to oneself, harm to others, bullying, all kinds of stuff. And so what I wanted to do was run you guys through a quick presentation. I'm going to move quickly about what we do, how it works. There's some complex theory in here and some really interesting things. I hope you'll learn some stuff and take away some interesting little tidbits about what it is that we do and how it's important in the safety and security of the district. Really kind of, we're out way in front of the cameras and the locks and the other stuff, looking online before something terrible happens to see if it might be on its way. So this is a graph that shows US student sentiment. So we're scanning over 1 billion social media posts every day, and hundreds of thousands of emails and internal school communications. And this is just a very recent snapshot of the sentiment analysis that we do. And, you know, kids are scared right now. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of anger. this whole situation kind of stinks. It stinks for all of us. It stinks for students as well. They don't want to be stuck at home. They want to see their friends. They want to participate in all kinds of activities that they can't do. So we're seeing a very high predominance of fear, predominantly, and anger among the student body across the country, which is sad. We're always analyzing language on a myriad of different levels. And one of the things that we see is we have these things called lexical bundles, and there's some complex sociolinguistic analysis that we do to kind of understand the context of language that I'll talk about really quickly. But we're seeing a lot of syntaxes containing struggling. I'm struggling at home. I'm struggling with school. I'm struggling with my parents. I'm struggling with siblings, whatever it might be. But it's a very common recurring theme in what we're seeing in the communications within districts. And so I thought I'd bring it up in here, and I think it's no surprise, right? We're all kind of struggling to some degree. I mean, I'm working out of a warehouse, so there are struggles for all of us, and our students are really feeling it right now. So the goal of Social Sentinel is to try to empower you. So what if you could prevent someone from making a decision that would tragically change their life in your community? It could be harming someone else or harming themselves, doing something really tragic that they'll regret and that we all wished never had happened. I think you will all agree that whenever there's some sort of tragic event that happens in the district, almost invariably it's like, well, there were signs and signals all over digital communication, but nobody was paying attention to it. And we're that company. We're the one that helps you pay attention to that stuff, so you can get out in front of these things, tap a kid on the shoulder in the hallway, and help them out. So that they don't get to a point where something really tragic happens. So we do that by identifying the language of harm and disrupting the pathway of violence by identifying leakage. So leakage is a concept that came out from the Secret Service and the FBI to understand that when somebody's on the path towards doing something really terrible, almost invariably they're leaking that information somehow, somewhere. They almost can't keep it inside, right? They need to bounce it off of others, let them know their intents. So there's 4 stages of this: ideation, planning, acquisition. You're actually pulling together the materials and things that you need to actually do something really bad, and then actually carrying out the act. So if you were to think about this on a timeline scale, you've got your physical security, metal detectors, cameras like John talked about, and access control. I think Michelle's going to cover some of that. That we're out on the left-hand side of that timeline. We're looking for the disturbing patterns of behavior, the early warning signs, the ways that you can identify students that are in crisis, being severely bullied, things like that, that you can tap a kid on the shoulder and help them out before they get to that point. So we're left of what in the security business they like to call left of boom. So how do we do this? Well, we're pulling in massive amounts of data. Like I said, over 1 billion social media posts every single day, and hundreds of thousands of internal district communications. And we're running that through our language engine, which I'm going to quickly run through a little bit about how that works and what we do there. And we're only identifying a very tiny percentage of communications that we actually deliver to you as, hey, this is something that you need to pay attention to. So how does this work? So we have Share It, which is, you wouldn't know what it is, but it is our anonymous tip line. You can put it on a website. There's a phone number. You can also submit good things, bad things, sad things. You can put it on your district website. Obviously, district-owned email, social media channels. So community social media channels, district social media channels. I can talk a little bit about how we create associations in that space. There's a ton of data in social media. Obviously, chat's a big one in the schools, and docs, Google Docs. You'd be amazed at what kids do. They get a bunch of kids into a Google Doc. They all start typing away, and they're deleting things, thinking that they're being sneaky, but we're catching it all. And a lot of stuff happens in Google Docs that we find as well. We run that through our language engine, and then we deliver to you a very small number of alerts, things that are something that you should escalate. Like, hey, you need to really pay attention to this. And then we deliver a lot of safety-related topics and discussions. What are people talking about in the district from a safety and security perspective? Maybe there's an incident that happened in the community and there's a whole bunch of traffic and people are talking about it. We're going to deliver you those trending topics that folks are engaged with within the school community. So we do this with artificial intelligence. And this is, we've only got a short amount of time here, and I could really go on and on and on about this, but I'm going to go through a simple analogy to kind of give you guys a rundown of how does this work. So, well, artificial intelligence is trying to mimic the human brain with a computer. It's extremely hard to do. It seems like in the movies, there's a million different references to artificial intelligence, like R2D2 can speak 10,000 languages and stuff like that, but it's not like that in reality. You actually have to teach the computer how to understand human language. So if we were to think about this in very simplistic terms, so what is this? Well, it's an apple, right? Well, so is this, and so is this. If you're really thinking you want to teach the computer, this is also an apple. But so is this, and there's probably 50 more examples of what an apple is. To try to teach a computer something very complex is extraordinarily difficult to do, to mimic the human brain, right? It takes 2 seconds for us to, not even 2 seconds, to understand what these are, but we need to teach the computer to do something very, very difficult. So how do we do that? Well, first we need to understand context, right? Bomb. There's 162 different ways to use the word bomb, and there's new ways to use the word bomb every single day. And we don't care about the bomb tacos in your cafeteria. We care about, I have a pipe bomb. So we need to understand context and how specific words are being used relative to other words in a post or a sentence or an email to understand the meaning and intent of language. Same thing holds true with the word kill, right? If you were using like a simple keyword lookup tool that said, show me anytime somebody uses the word kill, where there's a million different reasons why you could use the word kill. The one that we care about is my ex-boyfriend's going to kill me, right? We need to really understand how words are being used. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that on even a more complex level than this. So lexical ambiguity. There are 36 different definitions of the word shoot. A few that you really care about, right? Injecting drugs, maybe, or use of a firearm, those sorts of things. So we really need to understand all the different meanings of all these different words, and then how they fit in contextually to a sentence or a post. And does that post have any sort of intent that we need to convey it to you in an alert, something that you need to pay attention to? This is a mouthful, but sociolinguistic variation. So just because somebody says something that isn't grammatically correct, we need to know if it's something that you need to pay attention to. So we're pulling in different varieties of English. In our company, we never say that you said that incorrectly, because we can't afford to make the mistake to say to you, oh, well, we missed that kid was going to come to the school and do something terrible because he didn't use proper grammar. We can't do that. We have to be able to deliver those alerts to you. So we're incorporating all kinds of different uses of American vernacular to be able to understand, is somebody saying something that's threatening? So if somebody says, I'm phenomoyins, we need to know what that means. Nobody on this call maybe knows what that means, but you learned it now. Now you know what that means. So it's important that as a company, we understand the different permutations of the language of harm. And we have 420 million different permutations of the language of harm that we have put into our language engine to be able to uncover this sort of stuff and deliver it to you. Now, we wouldn't be doing our jobs if we weren't doing image recognition and text overlays, right? So 60% of social media posts have images. We need to be able to understand, is there a threatening image in that picture? But the same contextual computations have to happen at the same time. If somebody, there's a million reasons why you'd have a picture of a gun. It could be, look what I just earned in Fortnite. Well, we need to know that Fortnite is a video game reference, and therefore the gun is likely innocuous, right? If it's a picture of a gun and a person and a deer, that's a hunting reference. We get a lot of those up here in Vermont. So we need to understand if that's the sort of thing that you need to see or not. If it's a picture of the sign to the school and a gun and a kid, that's a very different story. We need to understand the context of imagery to be able to deliver you valuable alerts. Also, acronyms. I go to CES. This is just in the state of New Jersey here. You can see how many different CESs there are. We need to understand, how does somebody identify on social media as being from a certain place, going to a certain school? So we need to be able to associate these posts that we see on social media with your district. On district-owned email, it's a direct association. On chat, it's a direct association, any of your own properties, but it's a very complex thing to be able to solve on social media. So we have a confidence model. So does the content match stuff that we care about, right? That's relevant to your district. We want to work with you to say, hey, is there a certain slang term that the kids use for a place that they go to hang out and smoke cigarettes and do kind of stuff like that all the time? We need to understand the subtle nuances of language within your district to be able to uncover some of these pieces of content. Profile match. Does the author mention places, things, acronyms, and then followers and engagement? It's somebody that posted something threatening. Maybe they don't associate themselves in any way with your district. However, there are 20 people that are in their network that they follow or follow them that do identify that way. So therefore, we can infer that that person does go to your district or is part of your community. Geolocation is a very small piece of it. It used to be the main piece several years ago, but now that's a very small piece of the equation when we're trying to identify if something is applicable to your district or not. Less than 5% of social media posts these days have geolocation associated with them, so it's a very small part of our equation. What are we looking for? So self-harm is a big one. Sadly, right now, that is, I mean, every single day we get reports at Social Sentinel of the things that we're finding in districts, and they're all, anonymized. We're not, prying and seeing what's happening, but there's a lot of really bad, sad stuff happening right now with kids in the self-harm category. Harassment is a big one for us. We really need to understand if somebody is making threatening statements towards another on an ongoing basis. Sexual violence. We did shut down, sadly, a sex for drugs ring in Western New York not long ago. Really bad stuff. It stinks to talk about this sort of thing, but it is happening. It's important that we're paying attention to it. Fandom's a big one. We need to understand terms and relative terms that were used. Generally, when somebody's planning on doing something terrible, there is some sort of inspiration. There's something that they can cling to. So we're looking at all kinds of terrible events that happen around the country and understanding was there certain language or things that the perpetrator said that we would want to incorporate into our permutations to be able to uncover those things. If somebody says, it's 420 today, time to go full Klebold, we need to know that 420 was when Columbine happened and Dylan Klebold was one of the shooters, that sort of thing, right? Harm to others, that's the big one that everybody's focused on. Really what we find the most of is self-harm and harassment. Kids that are in real emotional distress, and we present those opportunities to you to be able to, like I said, tap that kid on the shoulder and get them the help that they need before something tragic could happen. So these are some recent examples. These have been heavily redacted. We're very, very, very conscious of privacy and making sure that we're not calling out any particular district. I'm not going to read any of this kind of stuff to you. I think you get an idea based on the conversation that I've had with you so far, what it is that we do and the things that we uncover. So I won't dive into details here, but I do want to make sure, I've only got about a minute or so left, that that you guys understand the ethical approach in which we take to getting this information. So a lot of people call what we do social media monitoring or email monitoring. We don't monitor. We actually have to put 20 bucks in a bucket at Social Sentinel every time we use the word monitor because we scan. The author of a post is irrelevant to us. We don't care. We have districts come to us all the time and say, hey, I'm going to give you the names of 15 real troublemakers in my district. Can you watch what they post on social media and take a look at all their stuff? No, we can't do that. That's against the law, and it's against the agreements that we have with our social media companies. What we can do is scan everything that comes through, all the language, right? Regardless of how it's personally identified, and then serve up those things to you. But we can't go out and follow people around or look at them and monitor what they do. That's not what we do. That's a big piece of this particular equation. So for us, what does success look like? A system for assessing these threats. If we were to send you something, if you picked up a note on the hallway, oh, there's my timer. If you picked up a note on the hallway, what would you do with it? Do you have a process in place to be able to do that, right? Do you have folks that are really concerned about the welfare of the kids? We know you all do have those people in place. Are they empowered to be able to step in and help? And then, do you have a really good social media presence across multiple platforms? If you do, that helps us really significantly on the social media pace, be able to create associations with your districts. And a quick review before I pass this on to Michelle. So we use really wicked smart, I can say wicked because I'm from New England. We use wicked smart proprietary language engine to process billions of social media posts and conversations in real time. We're doing this instantaneously, delivering you alerts within a minute or so if we find something that's being posted. And then we only send you stuff that you really have to pay attention to. And you're going to have this pulse on what's happening in your community, sentiment, things that are saying, people are saying, things that they're worried about. And we're going to give you this to you all in a really simple, easy to use platform. You get little push notifications to your phone, things like that for folks that that need to see these things. That's it. If you have any questions, you can reach out to your NIC Partners rep, and I'm here to hop on demonstrations and get into a lot more detail with you guys if you're interested. But that's all I got, and I'll pass it along to Michelle. Thanks, guys.
Great. Can everybody hear me? Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for nodding. Okay, everybody. My name is Michelle Johnson. I'm with SALTO Systems. I want to thank everybody for showing up today and inviting me for, oh, I think I need to take control. There we go. I'm taking control. There we go. Let's see. Uh-oh. Come on, you can do it. Take a second before.
Michelle, sometimes if you click the screen, there you go.
There we go. I think that's what I needed to do. Thank you. Thank you so much. So today we're going to do just a quick little introduction to SALTO systems at a pretty high level. Obviously, the education market is a very large market for SALTO, and it's obviously very near and dear to all of our hearts because it's not only our friends and family that work there, but it's our children that attend. So I do a lot of different work for the districts constantly. So at the end, if there's any questions or if you'd like additional information, just let Dahlia know. I'm going to quickly go through who SALTO is and show you some locks that are very specific more towards schools. So SALTO as a company was started in 2001 by 4 gentlemen who still own the company, which is great. We have, excuse me, we have over 30 offices now and over actually 700 employees. This slide's a little dated, sorry about that. We have over 6 million locks in the field, which is really nice. We are in 90 countries. The really neat thing about SALTO is that we have so many different locks and, you know, obviously for all over the world. So as we see a need here in the States, for a specific type of lock. The great part is it's probably already in SALTO land somewhere, and we just bring it into the United States and put it through the ANSI standards and UL, and poof, we have a new lock. So very rarely do we ever get a lock in the United States that's a brand new lock that hasn't been in the field for some time. All of our equipment is made in Spain. We have an office in Atlanta that we stock equipment to a certain degree. Larger projects do come from Spain. All of our R&D is done out of Spain, but the beautiful part is because of the United States, because we are who we are, we have our own R&D department here in the U.S. now. The great part is a lot of our districts have been very, very influential on a lot of our different product development over the last year and a half or so. So, you know, obviously, again, schools are very important to us. What else? Data on card. This is what SALTO is actually known for, and this is the patented technology that we had up until just a few years ago. The patent ran out. We got to let everybody else play in the space. So basically what it is that you are a walking control panel, okay? Your key card, your key fob, whatever it might be, you are a walking control panel. It's all about me and my card. Like this guy right here, like just a regular typical card. All of my information is on there, my access levels, everything. So when I'm talking back and forth to a SALTO lock, I am putting a lot of information on this card and I'm dropping off information. What kind of information are we talking about? We're talking about all my access levels. So I'm not asking that door to open, I'm telling that door to open, okay? And this makes a big difference and I'll tell you why later. Any kind of modes that I might have that are specific to me and maybe Dahlia doesn't have, are also going to be on there. So any kind of access levels completely. The other thing that I'm also doing is that lock is stamping onto my card an audit trail, whether it's access denied or granted. It's also putting down the battery strength of that lock, adding that onto my card. Any kind of blacklist that I picked up, I'm going to be dropping it off at that lock too, so that maybe somebody else has to pick it up. And I'll explain that again later too. The great part is that we talk back and forth to our locks. Then when I go through a revalidation or an update point, also known as a hotspot, all those different words, whatever you want to call it, what I'm doing is I'm dropping off all that information, but then it's going to go right into the software, okay? The other thing too, again, going back and forth, so any changes to my access level is also pushed to that door to when I come through there, I update my access level very quickly. It's a very different way of thinking about access control, so sometimes it takes a couple times to explain it. So obviously today we're going kind of quick, so we can always talk about that later. So that is basically the technology of SALTO and how it works. Some of our locks, I don't know if you guys can see, but I have this lock right next to me. This is the XS4 original. This is the perfect lock for classrooms because as you can see, let me grab my little guy here. As you can see, so this is the outside and this is the reader, okay? So we can do any different color finish that you want. We have several different ADA handles. They can be mortise or they can be cylindrical, but here's the cool part. We can put in what we call electronic privacy. So should anything start to come down and they need to quickly lock the door, they can hit that button, and what it does is it turns off the reader to where nobody can get in, and it stops the lock from opening. Okay, so obviously you can still open it from the inside, but nobody would be able to get in from the outside. This lock is fabulous for classrooms, but it's also really cool for pedestrian gates and stuff like that. We just need to make sure we have a box for the gate and stuff like that because it's got to be weatherproofed. But this lock is a very, very universal lock. It's actually our oldest lock. We haven't been able to get rid of it because it's just so useful in so many different situations. We have a door contact that actually would go right inside here so you can monitor for door prop if somebody leaves the door open too long or if somebody pries that door open. They're fire rated, they're good to go. It's a great lock, okay? What I did is I put a handful of different locks that are up on top of here that we use a lot for education. And the upper right-hand side, you'll see that we can actually integrate with panic bars, depending on the panic bar. There's so many different panic bars out there, but believe it or not, we integrate with like 60 of them, I think it is. So, I mean, there's a lot of them. But at the front door, in the front of the door, it'd be the same as what you just saw, that lock that we just looked at is in the front. And then on the back side, you have a kit where the batteries live and where the antenna and stuff live. We can do vertical rods, whether they're concealed or surface. So any of those things are okay, just depending, right? Again, depending on the type of lock. We also have padlocks. We have indoor and outdoor padlocks. So what's really neat about those, and I don't know if you guys can see me, but I actually have one right here. But it's really pretty fun because oh, I actually had it open. Hello. So when you present to it, oh, come on now. Of course you're not going to work because I just closed it. Oh, come on. Sorry guys, that was a bad demo, wasn't it? But we do have them for indoor, outdoor. They're great for roof hatches. They're great for maybe gates on the other side of the field or maybe maintenance sheds or anything like that. And they don't have to be online. That is the beautiful thing about SALTO. You don't have to be online. You can be online and offline. It's very scalable and we work within your budget. We also have right here is a locker lock. So we do lockers. We have several districts in Southern California that have thousands of these out there. And it's for the lockers maybe that people are putting inside the classrooms now for the laptops and things. But then also we have them inside the nurse's office that maybe has some medication that some of the students might take or anything like that. The great part is that particular lock is also antimicrobial. So it's cootie free. So that's a good thing. We can actually add that on to any of our locks that go on doors as well. This right here is actually that outdoor lock I was telling you about, or the outdoor padlock. So that's just kind of the quickie. Also right here, this block is actually really neat because it's really great for offices and things like that maybe you don't need too many features on. So it doesn't offer things like thumb turn or electronic privacy or anything like that. However, you can pick the finish and obviously the handles. It's a very standard wireless lock, okay? So, excuse me. So the differentiators with SALTO and what changes us up from anyone else, I'll quickly run through them. Our battery life, bar none, is the best in the industry because of the fact that we have all of our information on our card and we don't go back to the head end to look for any kind of information. Our competitors do. They still have to go back and ask for information to actually be let in. Remember, we're not asking, I'm telling you to let me in. So our battery life is fabulous. It's like this guy right here, the big original is about 55,000 cycles. Turn is a cycle. And so that should last you over 3 years. However, for schools, a lot of times, because you guys maintain your classrooms annually, a lot of times they'll just swap out the batteries just because you can, okay? But understand that they're 2 to 3 years. We're scalable within your budget. I have several districts right now that are upgrading because they went offline locks, right? And so now they're building in the backbone to make them all online so then we can do lockdown, which is another thing. We can do lockdown in 4 to 8 seconds. Is that reality? Probably not, just because when somebody's going to go into lockdown mode, they're probably going to initiate a few different situations that might happen, things like emergency notification to tell everybody to duck and cover. And then remember that you have the lock on the back side of the classroom door to start that off should they hear anything. Our audit trail, you get complete accountability. So you can see where everybody's been, whether it's access denied or granted. And it's not necessarily to follow everyone around. It's just to make sure everybody's getting where they need to be, and then you don't have to have keys anymore. We are all about the key replacement, okay? We like to take away your keys. The reason why is because you really don't need them, okay? And it makes life just so much easier. You don't have to worry about key replacement. Somebody loses a key, and the first thing you have to know whether or not somebody's lost a key is that they got to tell you that they've lost a key, right? So obviously the real-time functions, like I said, lockdown, notifications if somebody's trying to open a door or anything like that is very big. Labor is very, very minimal because we're not hardwiring everything, right? Everything is wireless, so it's very, very simple. Retrofit is a beautiful thing for SALTO. You know, obviously new construction too, but retrofit is very, very easy to do. We are a hybrid system, so we can do online and offline, okay? So sometimes like those gates that are really far on the other side of the field, but you want to put a padlock on there, not a problem. It doesn't have to communicate to anything. Remember, data on card. I am my own walking control panel, so I can get in when I need to. It's just a really great product for retrofit. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I kind of blew through that a little fast, didn't I? Oh, one other thing. So we do have, we do a lot of training for the districts. SALTO does, working with our business partners. And so we do 2 trainings a year to where we have districts that are maybe a little bit newer and then ones that are a little bit more experienced and want to integrate other systems, like the gentleman here today. So we work with them constantly. So, and the districts themselves are their own animals. Everybody has their ways of doing things. So we try to get everybody together a few times a year so you can all discuss what, you know, just standard operating procedures and how you're doing things like lockdown and things like that. So we're very active and with our districts and discussing their security needs. And so we would love to be able to work more with you guys. So let me know if there's anything else. And I'm going to turn it back to Miss Dahlia, right? Oh, you know what? That's exactly, I'm sorry. I'm going to pull back for a second. The big thing that I need to push at you guys is the fact that if our backbone goes down for whatever reason, okay, whatever reason, you have a network switch that dies, the power goes out, whatever it might be, the beautiful thing is data on card. Our system, you don't have to do anything to it. Nobody even has to show up at 2 o'clock in the morning. Our competitors, they'll say that they can do it, but you have to show up. Okay, we don't. Ours will just go automatically into offline mode. Remember, data on card, and then it will absolutely just come right back online and dump everything back to the software. The one last thing I want to push is we don't have any reoccurring fees for our software. So when we switch from version to version, there's no charge for any of that. Okay, and that's it. So now I'm going to go back to Miss Dahlia.
Thanks, Michelle. So we will wrap this up with questions. It looks like we have 2 questions in the Q&A box. John, looks like they're for you. The first question is, do these solutions monitor/prevent rogue Wi-Fi access points from being set up to bypass the Meraki Wi-Fi?
Yeah, it's a great question, and the answer is yes, but I want to expand just really quickly. We do have something with our wireless access points called Air Marshal, which will detect and prevent rogue SSIDs from interfering with your network. Can't go into too many details here. Would love to talk to you about that in deeper and how it works. But just to add to that is everything I've shown you from the Cisco Meraki solution is a platform. You don't have to do cameras. You can do just cameras if you want. You can do just APs if you want. If you want to do the full stack, you can do that as well. You don't have to have all the products that I've mentioned in order to get going. Some customers just do surveillance cameras. Some customers just do our access points. It just depends on your needs and requirements.
Thanks, John. And the second question is, do the access points go into sleep mode to conserve power during the night? Are there ways to set up time fences or something like that for use during certain hours?
I have to check on that one. We do have a low power mode that when the access points are smart enough, they do go into a low power mode, but they're still consuming energy. I have to get the details on that, but we can table that and we can get back to you. We'll say that was from Wayne. I also saw a question from Frank. It looks like, can the AI be set up to measure social distancing? I think he was talking in regards to the cameras. It depends on what your requirements are for social distancing. Obviously, with out of the box, the people counting might be able to solve that. Obviously, if you have a field of view and there's a bunch of people, like more than whatever your threshold is 10, then maybe you want to get an alert because you know that there shouldn't be that many people close together within that field of view. That would be one way that would meet your requirement. If you're talking about making sure that people are 6 feet apart within the field of view, that could be something we could look into through our APIs. Absolutely. So we'd really have to discuss further, but we do have options both out of the box and through our APIs that might be able to meet your requirements depending on what they are.
Okay. And I don't think I see any other questions, but thank you everybody for joining today. Also, please don't miss out on our next 2 weeks of webinars. Next week, we'll be doing WebEx best practices. And on May 7th, it'll be a threat hunting workshop. So please just go to nicpartnersinc.com, click on events to register, and you can also follow us on social media. Thank you everybody for joining today.
Thanks.